Sunbelt takes it on the chin versus the MAC. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, hopefully everybody enjoyed the Super Bowl. We had softball, Sunbelt softball kickoff this past weekend, and of course, baseball is coming up. I do have almost a handful of coaches lined up for Monday. We'll see if we get two handfuls lined up for this week, and we'll play them over the first couple of weeks of the season, although the season starts this weekend, as the case may be. Okay. The Sunbelt took it on the chin against the MAC, as it is tough to win on the road. The Sunbelt won 8 out of 12 when they hosted, and the MAC just won 8 out of 12 when they hosted. Some of these games were close, both winning and losing, as the case may be, right? Arkansas State lost by 1 on the road. Cajuns won by a couple on the road. App State won very impressively on the road. I don't think there's anything to take away from these games per se. You can gain some confidence. Again, App State beating Ohio. Ohio doesn't have a great record, but they've only lost one game at home until the other day. So I think that's impressive. Teams that have not had great seasons, like the Cajuns and Georgia Southern, winning on the road. That's pretty cool. All right. I did see the end, and South Alabama got overmatched, not only by Akron's size, but Akron can shoot the ball a little bit. And South Alabama's weakness is giving up the three. And if the other team is hitting the three, you live by the three and you die by the three. So we'll go through these a little bit at a time. Two of the top teams in each conference, Kent State hosting Arkansas State. Arkansas State coming off of that tough loss at Marshall. They fall to Kent State 76-75 in what was a really good college basketball game. 39-36 at half. Arkansas State led at half, and they led this ball game late, but Kent State hit 2 free throws, and unfortunately, a tough play as Jamal Sumlin, it was Jamal Sumlin. He was fouled by Joseph Pinion. But it was Sumlin. Pinion got there late to cover Sumlin in the corner, and Sumlin made a move to Pinion's left, Sumlin's right, and Pinion stuck his left knee out, and Sumlin tripped. Unfortunate. So I don't know what would have happened if Sumlin went to the hoop or pulled up, but he fouled him. All right. Unfortunately, that's what happened. And he hit both free throws. If you read the recap, which I did, it said Isaiah Nelson, who actually dunked home a shot to give Arkansas State the lead, says he missed a layup. He did not. He missed a short turnaround jumper. He did miss the putback. That was basically a layup, but somebody was in front of him trying to stop him. So he did miss a 3-4 foot turnaround jumper, did miss the putback on the rebound. That would have given Arkansas State the win. But it's a tough ball game. It's a tough place to play. Kent State's pretty good, and you got to give them a little bit of credit as well. If that game was, again, flipped back in Jonesboro, it very well could have gone the other way. Let's see I'm sure these stats are relatively close. I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, Arkansas State didn't shoot all that well. Kent State did. Turnover's going to be a difference. So turnovers were a big difference in this ball game. Kent State had 15, Arkansas State had 9, because Kent State shot almost 47%, and Arkansas State only shot 39%. Free throws were all Kent State. They hit their free throws too, 25 out of 28. Arkansas State only 15 out of 18. 3-point shots, not big difference. Arkansas State, was that offensive rebounds? They had 13 offensive rebounds to Kent State's 17. Rebounds were even, 33 apiece. But somehow Arkansas State shot 66 shots. That's why the field goal percentage was not great. They had 66 shots to Kent State's 47. I don't think I've seen anything like that. They were 26 of 66. Kent State was 22 of 47. So Kent State was much more efficient. I mean, offensive rebounds is only 6, so I don't understand. And then the turnovers, I guess, is another 6. They did have 19 points off of 15 turnovers. That's pretty good. And it was just a really good basketball game. Just a really good basketball game. Arkansas State comes up a little bit short. All right. Let's quickly, Georgia State with a nice win. It has not been a great season for the Georgia State Panthers, but they do come up with a nice victory. They beat Buffalo 80-75. On a side note, my world's colliding. One of my best friends is Josh Wetzel. He is the voice of the Buffalo Bulls. And obviously, in my time in the Sun Belt, one of the good buddies and longtime broadcaster of Georgia State, Dave Cohen. He's one of the good guys going around, and they had a chance to meet, and so is my world colliding. So that was good to have those guys chit-chat and probably badmouth me to each other. So that was fun for them, I hope. So Georgia State with a win over Buffalo. Buffalo not having a great season either. They're usually one of the power teams in the MAC, although not the last couple of seasons. They have gone to the NCAA tournament on a somewhat irregular basis over the last half a decade or so. But Georgia State goes into Buffalo and beats the Bulls 80-75. Let's see here. Malachi Brown had 16. Jelani Hamilton had 14. Tenari Lane did not have a very good ball game, although he did play all 40 minutes, 3 of 13 from the floor. Zarik Nutter had a big ball game off of the bench, had 13 points, just 4 of 13, but 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Got to make those free throws. So Georgia State with an 80-75 victory on the road in Buffalo. All right, let's take a timeout. Cajuns and Georgia Southern represent a couple of teams that have not had good seasons this year. They go on the road and pick up a couple of victories. We will do that next, right after I tell you about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so if you miss the opening tip-off and want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Cajuns and Georgia Southern with wins on the road. Good to see because, again, it hasn't been a great year for either one. And a little bit of an improvement for Georgia Southern, that's for sure, right? We've been over this. They started 0-12 last year, and I think they just went 12-16. What they finish up last year? Let's see what they finished up last season. Am I right on that? 12-16, 9-24. So I was off on that. They did start 0-12. So they finished up 9-24, and with their win on Saturday, they're 13-12. So they did start out. The problem is they did start out 7-5, and they're 5-7 in the Sun Belt. So that's a little bit disappointing. I'm sure that's the way they see things, right? So they're probably hoping to do a little bit better in the conference. But they come away with an impressive 83-57 win at Western Michigan. Not going to sit here and tell you, Western Michigan is, Duke or Auburn or anything along those lines. They don't have the best record either. They're 7-16 now following that loss. But let's see who Georgia Southern has at that. They have a tough schedule. All right. They got JMU, Old Dominion, at App, JMU versus App, and Georgia State. So whereas we're telling you JMU may be able to win all of their ball games, although they do have some games on the road. South Alabama doesn't have the toughest road to hoe for the remaining schedules. And there's another team that doesn't seem to have a very difficult schedule. These games are all tough for Georgia Southern. They're hosting James Madison, hosting Old Dominion, going on the road to App, going on the road to JMU, and then hosting App, and then hosting Georgia State. Those are all very tough ball games for Georgia Southern. I was looking to see if they could garner any momentum heading into the conference tournament. That is not necessarily going to be particularly easy. All right, let's check out the box score here quickly. Adante Holliman, 12 points. Tyson Brown had 13. Bradley Douglas has moved to the bench, but he continues to play well. Had 15 points on 6-11 shooting in only 26 minutes. How about this ball game? Braylon Thomas, 11 points, 13 rebounds in 18 minutes. That is what we call efficient. That's a good job by Thomas. And obviously, Georgia Southern played well. Not only shot 50% from the floor and over 40% from three, but held Western Michigan to under 32% and under 20% from three. They did a really good job defensively, and even held Georgia Southern to less than 67% from the free throw line. So they did a really good job. Georgia Southern did, holding Western Michigan to a very poor day in shooting. So good job defensively. Had a good day offensively and a good day defensively for Georgia Southern in their 83-57 win over Western Michigan. All right. Elsewhere, Cajuns, as we mentioned, had a win, held on to defeat Northern Illinois 66-64. They took the lead with about 8 minutes left to go in the second half and held on. Just hasn't been their year, right? They had all those transfers out, and then Katinge gets hurt, and they start to take it on the chin, and Bob Marlin gets let go, and they've had a lot of leads, and they've let a lot of leads get away. This one, they did not. All right. They held this lead. They took the lead again with about 8 minutes left to go. And I think Northern Illinois may have had a couple of buckets late, but I don't think they ever threatened to take the lead at the end of the ball game. Oh, they did. Yeah, they did. James Dent missed a 3-point shot with 2 seconds left to go. Hardy did miss a free throw. Apparently missed a 1-on-1. Yeah. Ouch. So they almost gave that game away too. UL improves to 8-17 overall. Let's see. Do we see what they are in the conference? They are 5-7 in the conference. All right. Elsewhere in the Sun Belt, we'll go through some of these because we do want to concentrate on App. South Alabama, again, did not have it against Akron. Akron 12-0 at home. They're impressive. 18-5 overall. And Akron can shoot the three, or at least they did against South Alabama. Field goal wise, both teams shot about 46%. The difference is Akron shot 42% from three. They made 19 3-pointers. Going to be tough to beat anybody shooting 42% when they're shooting 19 for 45 from three. They only made 11 2-pointers. In fact, I'm sorry. No. They only made 8 2-pointers. They made 28 field goals. 19 of them were 3-pointers. Didn't get a chance to watch the game, but that's one of those games where do you change the man-to-man? You got to change. You got to change your defense. You're just giving the game away. And here's the thing about Akron. Listen to this. They're shooting all those 3-pointers. 24 assists. That's impressive. That means they're moving the ball. They're making the extra pass. They're getting open shots. That's impressive. They were 12-0 at home for a reason. And so I wouldn't say back to the drawing board for South Alabama. The game doesn't really matter. Each half, they didn't play too poorly, right? 36-30 at the end of the first half. Beat a little bit worse in the second. Well, not that much. They lost by 6 in the first half. They lost by 7 in the second half. All right. It looks bad because it was 13 overall. They were down by 22 at one point in time. So again, this game was not that close. Free throws, South Alabama was 13-20. Akron only 5 of 7 because again, only 8 shots were from 2, or at least that's what they made for Akron. Let's see what South Alabama did box score wise. Remember, they're coming off that big ball game. Barry Dunning had a big ball game, 22 points. Eli Ormiston, now apparently in the starting lineup, 15 points. Judah Brown off the bench with 10. Myles Corey, tough ball game, 3 for 11. Myles Corey, he doesn't have to carry him, but if he doesn't have a good tournament, they're not going to get very far. If you're going to cut off the head of the snake, that's what you're going to do. You can let the other guys do some things, but if Myles Corey isn't going to get into double figures, and the closer he is to 10 than he is to 20, the better chance you have to beat South Alabama. You don't have to be Hubie Brown or Dick Vitale to figure that one out. All right. So Akron beats South Alabama 80-67. All right, we could do one more. All right, let's see who else we got in here. It was a Sunbelt versus MAC. Troy does take it on the chin against Miami. Miami of Ohio beats Troy 69-62. Miami of Ohio 11-1 at home. So again, Akron hasn't lost at home. Miami of Ohio had only lost one time at home. And Miami of Ohio keeps that streak alive, beating the Trojans 69-62. Let's see what this box score was, or the stats were. Miami of Ohio only shot 44%, but made 10 3-pointers. Reboundings were almost exactly the same. Turnovers were about the same. Again, another very close ball game. Troy actually made more free throws. Troy missed 6 free throws. Miami missed 5. Close ball game. Just a close ball game. That Miami was able to win at home. Good shot that game is in Alabama, and Troy pulls out a victory. All right. I don't think that's a defining win by any stretch of the imagination. And sometimes these are good ball games because other teams don't have a chance to scout you as much, or they're seeing you for the first time, and they may see one or more things. I will phrase that. They're only looking for 1 or 2 things that they can pick at, and you may be able to pick up on that and correct it moving forward. So you may be able to see that and correct it for the next time. Whereas all those Sunbelt teams are going to try and do the same thing that the other Sunbelt teams are doing. Whereas the MAC is going to look at you one time and, all right, this is the matchup. We're just going to try and do this type of deal. We can do 1 or 2 things. Plus, we're not going to see them again, right? Whereas I just told you Georgia Southern is going to play App and JMU like twice in 2 weekends. All right. Speaking of App, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. Mountaineers with a nice win on the road. Could they be getting hot at the right time? We will do that right after I say thank you. All right, over 1,860 subscribers. I think it was 1,863. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We are 4 weeks, exactly 1 month away from crowning a Sun Belt basketball champion. Sun Belt softball is officially underway, and baseball is starting up this week again. As of this recording, or as of recording this podcast episode, I believe we have, well, I can check. We have 5 baseball interviews set up for the coaches. All right, we'll see what happens between when I wake up and the end of Wednesday, and we'll sprinkle them in. I don't necessarily know if we'll get them all in a row. We still want to talk basketball when appropriate, and some of those big ball games coming up during the week. We don't want to just ignore that. When necessary. So like we're not going to ignore an Arkansas State and Troy matchup when that's called upon, or a South Alabama Arkansas State ball game. But we do want to get those guys in if they're going to take the time. We definitely want to play those interviews. And again, almost half of them have responded in what has only been a couple of days. So really appreciate that. And again, you play a couple of them, and then the other guys want to come in. That's the way that works. So hopefully we'll get them all in here in the next. It probably won't be in 2 weeks, because it's only 5 episodes in a week, and we do have 14 guys. So it'll be over 3 weeks. And the way baseball works, things will change anyways. So it doesn't matter that if someone's recording something with me on Wednesday, it may not play for 3 weeks, but that's okay. But that's what we have coming up. Just want to let you know we are well on the way to getting almost all of the baseball coaches, and hopefully they'll all be recorded by the middle of this week. All right. So looking forward to it. So lots going on. It is crossover season. Still hoping to get these football guys on. Now they're going to hopefully catch a breath now that not early, but signing period is done. Hopefully they'll catch a breath and, be able to chat with me. We shall see. All right. Again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Please subscribe and like all those social media posts. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, App State. Can they be one of those teams that can challenge, Arkansas State and what we thought Troy? They go on the road and they get a nice win over Ohio. We mentioned those other teams. It was Akron and Miami of Ohio, who combined only have 1 loss. Miami of Ohio has the 1 loss at home. Ohio, the Bobcats, only had 1 loss at home. It's very odd. They're a 500 ball club, basically. They were 12-10 coming into the game. They're now 12-11, except they were 9-1 at home. And App State was actually behind. They were behind 34-28, and they dominate in the second half, 44-25. They come away with a 72-59 ball game. And Myles Tate had a Myles Tate type of game. 27 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. CJ Huntley had a little bit of an off game, only 7 points, 9 rebounds. Deion Connors had 14 points. Jaleel Bobron had 11 points. But that's a great job by App State to turn up the defense after giving up 34 points, only allowing 25. And then the offense taking off, made 8 3-pointers total. Free throws still missing some, 14 out of 20, 70%. Kind of do a little bit better than that. Only 9 turnovers. Not the 2 teams only combined for 18 turnovers. Anything less than 10 turnovers in a game is really good. Points over turnovers were not a whole heck of a lot, and not a whole heck of a lot of fouls called. App State ended up winning the ball game by 13, and their largest lead was 16. So they really did, after being down by 6, dominated the second half. So that's really good. Who does App State have this week there? I mean, they don't have the toughest of all ball games. They don't have a tough schedule. They have Marshall. They have 2 huge ball games against Marshall, but they're at Coastal. They're at Georgia State. They get Georgia Southern at home. They get Marshall at home. They do finish up at Georgia Southern and at Marshall. We'll see how they do on the road. They do not have the toughest of schedules. All right. So we'll see what happens with App State. All right, quickly going through the rest of the Sun Belt games that we haven't quite gotten to. Let's see what we didn't get to. Southern Miss falls just short at Ball State. I think Ball State had control of this one late, but it was a 1-point ball game, 77-76. And again, Southern Miss, a battle because they are not good away from home. They are now 1-11 away from Hattiesburg, but gave Ball State all they could handle. Najee Harris had a big ball game, 23 points, 13 rebounds, but it wasn't enough as Southern Miss comes up 1 point short. Old Dominion falls short, kind of tale of two different halves in terms of offense and defense. Slow start for both squads. Eastern Michigan beats Old Dominion 76-70, but 29-26 in the first half, and then it was 47-44 in the second half, both won by Eastern Michigan. Do we need to tell you who are the top scorers for Old Dominion? Although they did have some help, interestingly enough. Sean Darrell Gordon had 15 points. Robert Davis Jr. had 18, but Jaden Johnson had 10, and R.J. Blankney had 11. So they are getting a little bit more help these days. And JMU falls just short to Toledo. Toledo, the Rockets, 72-69 over JMU. That's the one thing about JMU. They do struggle on the road, although it's a 3-point ball game, and Toledo is pretty good. James Madison falls to 2-7 on the road. Coastal falls to Bowling Green, 67-53, and Central Michigan drops to Texas State, 85-70. All right. We do have again, a Wednesday, Thursday dealio this week. You got Arkansas State hosting Southern Miss on Wednesday. And then the Cajuns are hosting Troy also on Wednesday. Those games are a little bit later, 7:30 or 8:30 Eastern time. Those are 7:30 tip-offs. And then Thursday you have the rest of the ball games. And then I think on Saturday you got the big Troy and Arkansas State ball game. What do you got on Thursday? Any big ball games there? No, not really. South Alabama. You do have South Alabama and Marshall. That's a big ball game. South Alabama and Marshall on Thursday, February 13th. So that is a ball game. And then it is a quick turnaround on Saturday. So Marshall going to the Cajuns. Not much travel there. All right. Again, be on the lookout for baseball coach previews. We're going to try and get them all. So again, I've reached out to all the SIDs. Don't necessarily expect them to get back to me over a weekend, but the idea was for them to know I am available all day Monday and all day Wednesday. I'm available at night. All right. I don't mind doing it in the evening, but I am wide open on Monday and Wednesday. So hopefully we'll get them all done, or as many as that we can. So if your baseball coach doesn't come up, it's not for the lack of effort. All right. I presume we will get most of them done. So those will be coming up in the next couple of weeks or so. So the first one should be done on Tuesday. We'll have one done on Tuesday. He may be the good buddy from South Alabama. Not to start or perpetuate rumors. Just saying. Not a big surprise that they were the first one to respond. So I appreciate that. Appreciate you guys tuning in and watching and continuing to subscribe. Please pass it along. This is the unofficial podcast of the Sun Belt, as far as I'm concerned. You've been watching and listening to Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Hope you had a great weekend and enjoy your Monday. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday.